Hi, Rob McNeish. I'm here for the North Grove. We're back in the greenhouse and we're doing our 2-week update on your grow kits. So we're going to start off with our peas. Not a lot to do here. Just if you've got the poles that came with your kit, you're going to put them in nice and tight. All you got to do is make sure you've got your poles kind of close to your peas, and they'll have these little hairs here that'll start trying to wrap around stuff, and put them in and kind of set them and forget them. They'll latch onto to this pretty easily, and they'll start growing up your poles. You can even put these closer to a fence if you really want them to grow on them, or if you've got a railing on your balcony, you can also do that. Kind of guide your peas towards that. They'll start wrapping stuff up. And you'll see in our next update how they'll attach to this. Didn't have a great success with my beans here. I put my beans on the ground outside of the greenhouse here, and there definitely was something that got into them. I think a slug maybe, or another bug. It looks like we had one that came up, had a little bit of rot. I'm gonna see if it's gonna produce some more leaves, but something's been munching on it. Something's been munching on this one. I've got a late bloomer here that's still trying to come up through the soil. I'm gonna see if that one comes up. One of my beans had stayed a little too wet. I was a little overzealous with watering, and it got some early rot and didn't come up properly. So if you ever see something like this, check the underside of your leaf. You can even look around and see if there's a bug that's hanging out on it, and just kind of get rid of that bug. I've also got a late bloomer bean here that is just struggling to come up through the soil, so I don't know if I planted it too deep. So here I'm gonna actually pull these two out and plant a couple more beans that I soaked last night. The good thing about beans is that really you can plant them every 2 weeks throughout the summer. So I'm just gonna pull these ones out that probably aren't gonna make it. And that one had some nice root growth on it though. And then I've soaked some other beans for some other planting I'm doing. So I'm just gonna replace them with a couple of beans. Put them in, just don't even have to worry about them. Again, not super deep, just leave them like that. Great, and then I'll have a succession of beans. They'll come up, and then I'll have some more in a couple of weeks, and this one will be ready to harvest, and then these ones will be ready to harvest. So that's good. And you can do that every 2 weeks or so. If you had a couple of buckets, you could do a set of beans basically every 2 weeks, and you'd get a solid harvest throughout the whole summer. Next up, we've got our kale. Came up really nicely. It looks like all of our seeds germinated. So we planted a bunch of kale in here. We probably got more seed than we wanted. And we're just gonna go around and in each of your little patches, pick one or two, or just even one of each of these little clusters. And we're gonna take a little pair of scissors. You can use your fingernails or just pinch them. But we're just gonna snip one of these baby kales. I know a lot of people don't like doing this because they think it's so, why would you kill a plant that you grew? But you really want them to have their own space, and so that they grow up nice and big and tall. So otherwise they'll be a little too stringy. So I'm just gonna kind of pick them all. Oh, pick that one. And you can even eat this tiny baby kale if you wanted. You could sprinkle it on your salad, microgreens. And you can probably see that the kale that you got was a mix. And I've been seed saving this kale for over about 6 or 7 years now. So it's been a blend of seeds that I've saved every year. So I'm trying to pick a couple of different types. There's a white Russian kale in here. There's a red Russian kale. There's another kale called Sutherland kale. Yeah. I'm trying to have a nice mix or blend so you can kind of see the different types. You could also fertilize your kale. Everyone who got some kits should have got a little bit of fertilizer. It's a pelletized chicken manure, so you definitely want to make sure you're wearing gloves and make sure you wash your hands afterwards. So this is a slow release chicken manure fertilizer, and it'll just be released with water. You can mix it into kind of the top little bit of your soil a little bit. Use this outside, and it'll stink a little bit for a little while, and then the soil will absorb it and the smell will go away. Your beets are fine. They're gonna be pretty tender. Like I watered mine yesterday and they got a little beat up. But again, you can sprinkle a little fertilizer on that. They like that. But they came up really well. Looks like we had a good germination in there. You can start to see the second leaves coming in. Kind of like the peas, you really don't have to do much. You can sprinkle a little bit of the fertilizer manure that you got in there. You're gonna water them, and then again, you're just gonna leave them. Just like that. Great. So next up, we're gonna do our cucumbers and our tomatoes at the same time because they're basically getting the same treatment right now. So they've been in the pots for a couple weeks, transplanted in. You can kind of see they've got the leaves are nice and green now. They're getting a little bigger. Same with tomato, it's put on some new growth. So it means it's settling into its pot. And so now is the time to give them some food. They're gonna need that extra boost to kind of start getting bigger and start producing their fruit. So this is where most of your fertilizer is gonna go. You can really kind of feed them like this. This stuff is slow release, so it'll kind of release itself over the next couple of weeks. And then in 2 or 3 weeks, you can add your other half, just the same way we're doing it here. So kind of putting it on top like this. I want to mix it into that top couple of centimeters of the soil. Getting in with your fingers, or using a spoon or a fork or a knife. Make sure to wash it afterwards. Make sure to wash your hands afterwards. Just mixing that into the top like that. I did water these yesterday because it was pretty dry over the last couple of days. But we are going to give it a water, just a little bit of one, just so that that manure can start releasing, because it's pretty dry and it needs water to kind of start breaking down. Yeah, just like that. And your tomatoes and cucumbers will really start taking off after about 5 or 6 days with the composted chicken manure. Then in our next update video, we'll talk about your tomato, because the tomato's got some maintenance that you're going to do in another couple of weeks. And that's it. Then you put everything back where you put it. On your balcony or outdoors, and it should be fine. Yeah, so thanks for coming back and watching this. If you've got any questions or concerns with your pots at home, send us a message on Facebook, and happy growing.